Breaking news! The Miami Dolphins are making changes that have fans excited, and not all for the right reasons. Something is happening behind the scenes in Miami, and it's not just your typical preseason story. We've got injuries to key players, signings that signal deeper problems, and a former second-round pick who seems on the verge of being fired. And yet, somehow, Chris Grier still has a job. He should have been fired seasons ago. But here we are, starting another year where one or two wrong decisions can ruin everything. This is the time of year when championship teams begin to take shape, and also when the weak links are exposed. I've got all the inside scoop you need to know about who's on the rise, who's on the decline, and who might not even make it to week 1. But before I reveal everything I've been hearing about the Dolphins, do me a favor. If you've been a fan through the ups and downs, the disappointments, and the rebuilding, like and comment, go Dolphins! My heart bleeds teal and orange, because what I'm about to reveal will make you wonder if Miami is truly built for a Super Bowl run, or if we're headed for another season of what-ifs. Let's go. Let's dive in. The Dolphins just brought back a familiar face in tight end/fullback hybrid Chris Myarick. Yeah, that's right, Chris Myarick, the undrafted free agent from 2019 who spent time with Miami's practice squad and even saw a few regular season snaps in 2020, is back in town. He's bounced around the league with stints at the Giants, Texans, and Jaguars, but here he is again, now filling a very specific role in this Dolphins offense. What does that tell us? It tells us that Alec Ingold's concussion might be more significant than they're letting on. Ingold went down during the August 3rd practice in what initially looked like a potentially devastating injury. Thankfully, he walked off under his own power and was later placed in concussion protocol, but this move for Myarick is clearly a contingency. Miami knows how critical Ingold is to the offense, especially in red zone packages. His absence even for a couple weeks opens up a major opportunity for Myarick to get reps, and you can also expect to see 2024 UDFA Hayden Rucci fighting for some of those snaps too. The Dolphins don't need Ingold taking unnecessary hits in meaningless preseason games, so they're playing it safe. But make no mistake, Myarick isn't just here to fill a jersey. He's 6 feet 5 inches, 261 pounds, and he brings blocking versatility that McDaniel covets in this scheme. Now, let's talk about something a bit more alarming, Austin Jackson. The Dolphins' de facto blindside protector is already banged up, sidelined with a lower body injury that's expected to keep him out for multiple weeks in August. That doesn't sound catastrophic until you realize how important Jackson is to this offensive line. Let's be clear. Tua is a left-handed quarterback, and that makes the right tackle his blind side. Jackson is essentially Miami's left tackle in function, and he's coming off his best season as a pro. If he can't go week 1 against the Colts, things get dicey fast. And this brings us to the Dolphins' next move, signing veteran offensive lineman Germain Ifedi. He's a journeyman who started a ton of games, mostly at right tackle with Seattle, and it's not hard to read between the lines here. This isn't just a depth move. Ifedi is going to take over starting reps during training camp, and if Jackson's injury lingers, he could very well be in line to start week 1. That's a scary thought considering the steep drop-off from Jackson to Ifedi in terms of both performance and familiarity with the system. So far, all of this would be enough to raise eyebrows, but we're not done. Let's shift to the secondary. Cam Smith is shaping up to be one of the most disappointing second-round picks in recent Dolphins history. This is year 3, and the guy still can't stay on the field. After a rookie season lost in Vic Fangio's doghouse, followed by a 2024 campaign that started with injury and ended with him getting benched for Storm Duck, Smith is once again injured and missing valuable time. Brian Duker, the team's secondary coach, addressed it, calling it a missed opportunity and emphasizing the need for durability. At this point, it's fair to say that Smith is a bust. Look at the cornerback room right now. Storm Duck, Jack Jones, and Mike Hilton are your projected starters. Jason Marshall Jr., the rookie out of Florida, has been flashing potential. Kendall Sheffield has outperformed Smith consistently throughout camp. So where does Cam fit in? He doesn't. Not when you're fielding a roster on merit, not draft position. Strip away his second-round status, and Cam Smith isn't making this team. Period. But the Dolphins still have a glaring hole in this room. If you ask me, they need to go out and get a legit veteran corner, someone like Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr., or even Stephon Gilmore. Let Storm, Jack, Mike, Marshall, and Sheffield round out the top 5 and bring in a proven name to stabilize the unit. Because as it stands, you cannot rely on Cam Smith. Not anymore. Not after last year's disaster against Arizona, where he gave up over 100 yards and practically handed the Cardinals a comeback win. That collapse might have cost Miami the playoffs. Meanwhile, there's a glimmer of good news. Safety Ifedi Melifonwu was finally activated off the NFI list and practiced for the first time on August 3rd. He's trending towards starting alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick following the injury to Ashton Davis. Davis, thankfully, is not out for the season, but his absence clears the path for Melifonwu to seize a starting role. Known for his range and coverage ability, Melifonwu is a much-needed presence in a secondary that's looking thin. If he stays healthy through camp and the preseason, it's hard to imagine anyone else starting over him come week 1. Because here's the reality, hope is not a strategy. And that's exactly what the Dolphins have been relying on with Cam Smith. Hope that he'd stay healthy, hope that he'd develop, hope that somehow he'd justify that second-round draft capital. But hope doesn't win football games. Production does. And right now, production is the one thing Cam Smith simply isn't delivering. It's not just about missing practices or time off the field. When he has been out there, he's been a liability. The coaching staff can sugarcoat it all they want, but every rep he misses is another opportunity lost. Every game he underperforms is another potential win that slips through Miami's fingers. Let's not forget that the Dolphins' defense is undergoing some pretty serious adjustments this offseason. The front office brought in pieces like Jack Jones and Mike Hilton with the clear intention of reshaping the secondary. This is no longer about development, this is about results. And you can already see that urgency in the decisions being made. Mike Hilton brings veteran leadership and versatility. Storm Duck, despite being an undrafted rookie, is already proving to be more reliable than Smith. Jason Marshall Jr. is raw, yes, but he's at least showing up, putting in the work, and earning praise in camp. These are the kinds of players you build around, not the guy still living off of his draft status. If Chris Grier had been fired when he should have been, this wouldn't even be a conversation. A new GM would have had no attachment to Smith and would have pulled the plug already. But because Grier is still inexplicably calling the shots, we're now in a dangerous limbo where bad decisions are being propped up to protect egos instead of advancing the team. That's not how you build a Super Bowl roster. That's how you end up 9-8 and sitting at home in January. Again. And speaking of injuries and setbacks, let's revisit Austin Jackson's situation, because it's not getting enough attention. This isn't just a depth issue. This is your blindside protector we're talking about. If he's not 100% by week 1, you're risking the health of your franchise quarterback. Tua needs clean pockets, and the second-string offensive line isn't going to cut it against real NFL defenses. Jermaine Ifedi might be a serviceable fill-in, but if Miami goes into the season with him starting, it's a massive downgrade. And the ripple effect that could have on the offense is enormous. Think about it. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the rest of that electric receiving core can't make plays if Tua doesn't have time to throw. Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane can't get to the edge if the right side of the line is getting blown up. The Dolphins don't just need Austin Jackson healthy, they need him dominant. And unfortunately, you don't just snap your fingers and get back to full strength after a lower body injury. This needs to be handled carefully, because one misstep and it's deja vu all over again from 2022. Meanwhile, the Alec Ingold situation is a ticking time bomb. Yes, it's just a concussion. Yes, he walked off the field. But concussions are unpredictable. There's no set timeline for recovery, and once you get one, you're more susceptible to others. That's not something you can ignore, especially for a guy whose role is as physically demanding as Ingold's. He's a fullback who thrives on collisions. And if he's not ready to go, suddenly this run game looks a lot less explosive. That's why Chris Myarick isn't just a throwaway signing. He could legitimately see significant preseason action and potentially force his way into a roster spot. The same goes for Hayden Rucci. If either one of them flashes enough in the red